let me. Um, and I would love also to hear if you want to put in the chat or if you want to say after class if any of these things are kind of moving through you in your life a little bit. I always am curious to know how yogic philosophy is living in you beyond your mat or beyond just this contemplation that we have for a few minutes, but to really know how it's touching your life. I'm always curious about that. So anyone who wants to share those kinds of things after class or in a text chat that or in the chat box, that would be great. So just, to review this sensing that the niyamas are really about what we can cultivate within us to help us. It's here to help us. So try to think less about restrictions placed upon you, but rather opportunities for growth. And growth requires work. It's not something that we can just think and therefore it happens, but it's really practices that we need to cultivate and do. So in your practice today, just try to formulate a way that your body practices, your asana practices, your breath practices help you imbibe these spiritual aspects of our practice. So just, a quick review: saucha, cleanliness, a purity of body and mind. What are you taking in? What are you allowing to resonate within you? Um, And then Saucha, the sense of purity, kind of leads us towards Santosha, a sense of contentment, being able to be at peace with whatever is happening, even if we're trying to change it, even if we're not okay with the circumstances that we're in, can we allow ourselves to settle ourselves so that we can work with a non-reactive stance to help us grow. Um, The next is tapas, that discipline, cultivating discipline in your life. And it could be physical discipline, like showing up on your mat to do your practice or exercising or whatever other ways, but any kind of discipline, going to bed on time, having discipline around your work life or your family life or your how you speak or whatever it is, but a sense of a discipline to help us move through stepping outside of our comfort zone and into growth. The next is svadhyaya, the sense of self-study. So, are you giving yourself enough time for contemplative practices in your life? And have you touched a contemplative practice that works for you, that really helps you get to know yourself? And then lastly, this Ishvara Pranidhana, offering your efforts to the highest good, kind of surrendering into the something greater than yourself. So, how are those landing with you? All right, so as you sit up straight and tall and find a comfortable seat, have you pinpointed, if you want to, a way for any of these or all of these niyamas to touch your life? Is there anything that you're shifting a little bit or reminding yourself of that can touch your daily rhythms to help you grow in this way? So as you close your eyes, is there any one of the niyamas that you're working with specifically? So just kind of contemplate within your own mind body how these spiritual practices land with you. And then, as always, we use the breath and we use the body as our tools for deepening our understanding and our sense of presence. So see if you can move a little bit away from the thinking mind now into the presence of mind body, into the presence of breath. Touch in with how you are, kind of look inward and notice. Maybe you ripple through the koshas and see kind of a little check-in with each of the koshas. How is your physical body feeling? Is there any adjustments you need to make or adaptations you need to make for your body? Can you be content? How about your prana body or your breathing? How is the state of your energy body feeling today? How about your mental body? How has your thought processes been today? Are you ruminating? Are you obsessing? Are you overthinking? Or are you able to just let yourself move through the flow of mind? Is there anything that's top of mind? And then moving into the emotional body, what's here, what's landing when you think, or not think, but when you sense into the emotional body. What's, what are you noticing here? And then let's remember this deepest kosha, uh, where, this sense of our most true self. Some people call it the bliss body. I know our truth isn't always feeling blissful, but there's a part of us inside that we can remember is connected to all things, that its birthright is joy. And so see if you can just tap into a little bit of that and open your heart, lift your heart. As you bring your hands together with the heart lifted, set an intention. Maybe a niyama is calling to you today to work with. Maybe you're ready to let them settle and just be absorbed in your practice. And then release your hands, and we'll find our way onto our back. So as you come to experience your physical practice, let's recognize the joy of being able to move our body. Our practice doesn't have to be aggressive in order for us to feel good. Okay? So some days are stronger practices than other days. And what does your body need today? And can you, even if I'm got something on tap, if you feel something different, can you offer that to yourself? Kind of stretch your arms, reaching one side, reaching the other side, and just enjoy what it feels like to open up and move your hips and your shoulders. And draw your knees into your chest and rock a little bit, swaying from side to side. All right, hang on to the knees and circle 2 or 3 times each way. And then when you're ready, we'll open up our legs, kind of move your knees away from the middle and back in, and feel your way into the hip joints. Right knee into your chest, left leg long, and feel your way into your ankle joints. Okay. Moving around, rolling your feet, and then move your way into your toes and your all the bones of your feet. Finding your breath. We'll take our right knee over to the left and stretch into a twist. It doesn't have to be super big. Feel across your heart, stretch into your hand. Maybe your head turns, maybe it doesn't. Maybe your arm moves around, maybe it doesn't. And then come back to center. Give a good squeeze of that knee. Bend your left knee. Put your left foot on the ground and grab onto your right foot, and we'll come to a half happy baby pose here. Just moving through that hip joint a little bit. And then take the right foot in the left hand and cross that right foot over to the left. Right hand on your right knee, and just feel a little bit of motion in your hip joint as you externally rotate, kind of like as if you were going to go into reverse pigeon, but you're not. Just moving around in that joint, and then lift that leg straight back up in the air. Interlace your fingers behind your hamstring and press your thigh into your hands. Let's flex and point our foot up there in space and move your ankle around. Wiggle your toes, any kind of movement you want. And then release that leg. Stretch your right leg long. Bring your left knee into your chest and give it a good hug. Keep moving your feet. Maybe wobble your head left and right. Make sure your neck is at ease. Find your breath. Okay. Take the left knee in the right hand and cross over to a twist and enjoy. Stretching across your chest, breathing deeply. Maybe your arm moves around, maybe your head moves around. Just see what feels good. Touch into the body and breath. And back to center. Draw that knee into your chest, rolling around in the ankles a little bit. We'll bend our right knee. Put your right foot on the ground. Grab onto your left foot. A half happy baby pose on this side. Notice your pelvis. We're not tipping to the left. We're staying grounded. And then cross that left foot over to the right. Put your left foot in your right hand. Left hand on your left knee. And just move around in that hip joint. Okay, so it doesn't matter what kind of movements you're doing, just kind of feel your way into what feels good. Mobilizing that hip joint. All right, and then lift that left leg straight up in the air. Interlace your fingers the weird way behind your hamstring. Press your thigh into your hands. Maybe move your foot around up there in the air. Notice how it's different. The feelings through your foot might be a little different type of stretch than when your leg was on the ground. Then release that leg, stretch to a star, open your limbs really wide. Let's roll your wrists and your ankles. A deep breath. Exhale, knees into your chest. One more time, expanding open. Exhale, knees come in. Grab onto your feet, a full happy baby pose now. Drop your knees down and let's open up across our back. Maybe a little bit of rocking if it feels nice. And then tip a little to the left and straighten your left leg as much as it'll go. Still holding your left hand on your foot. And then we'll tip a little bit to the right and straighten our right leg. Bend your left. Stretch out through your foot. And then back to neutral. Stretch one more time to a star on the ground, opening your legs. Exhale, knees into your chest. We'll roll to our side and come up to our hands and our knees. As you find all fours, let's move our way through some cat-cows. Take your time to get there, ground yourself first. And then we'll start to move, arching and rounding the spine. Taking your time to feel your way, breathing deeply, breathing fully. Noticing where your vertebrae might feel a little loose or a little tight or a little spacious or a little snug. Live inside your breath. And then start to move any way you want. Move your torso around, move your hips around, move your head around. All right, and then we'll do some moving child's poses here. So stretch back, but first lift the tail and stretch back into a child's and feel that deep compression in the hip joints. And then we'll come on up and tuck the tail under, round the spine a little bit and drop back into a child's. Notice how different they feel. Up again, sit bones high, drop back into a child's. Inhale forward. Exhale, tuck back into a child's. Come back up. Move your pelvis around, wag your tail. A big wag, like a big dog tail wagging. Oh, find the ground of all fours. Let's reach one arm up in the air. Maybe move your wrist around. Exhale and take that shoulder down for a twist. While you're here, wag your tail just the smallest bit, like an inch or so back and forth. And then rock forward and back with your torso. Notice your breath. And then release your self out of the pose, lifting the arm back up in the air. Hand comes down onto the ground. We'll switch sides. Arm up. Let's roll your wrist. Exhale, drop that shoulder down, twisting to the side. Breathing deeply here. All right, and then we'll have little bits of movement. So first, just a teeny tail wag. Don't feel like it's a big movement. And then maybe a little forward and back with your torso. And notice if this side feels different than the other side. It does to me, it feels very different. Inhale, reach that arm all the way up. And then the hand comes down onto the ground. Find your breath. Wag your tail one more time. Curl your toes under and lift to a dog. Take a little time here, pedaling your feet, getting your calves to pump and wake up a little bit. All right, and then opening up through your sit bones. Feel some movement. You do not have to be still in this first dog pose or any dog pose. Ground yourself. And then we're going to roll through our spine to a plank. Once you come forward, straighten out your spine again. Heart comes forward, shoulder blades back. And then roll your spine back to a dog pose. Once more, rolling forward. Round the spine until you get there, and then shoulder blades down, collarbones wide, heart forward, press the ground. And then roll yourself back. Straighten your spine when you get there, extend and open up. A full breath in, full breath out. Walk your feet forward, come to Uttanasana, a forward fold, relax your head, melt and bobble your head as much as you need. Inhale for a halfway lift, ground all four corners of your feet. Exhale and release. Again, balance your weight through your feet. Inhale, halfway lift. Sit bones high, open the backs of the legs. Exhale. And then surrender. Push through your feet, rising up. Bring the arms to the sky. Open chest. Let's cactus. Open the arms here. Squeeze the back body a little bit. Exhale and round. Inhale, arms come all the way up. Press your palms. Interlace your fingers. Press your palms straight up. Maybe take your feet just a little bit wider apart. Inhale and reach upward to one side. Ground through your feet. Open your side body. And then round your spine as you roll forward. Interlace your fingers the opposite way. Roll to the other side and reach. Ground through that foot. Extend and open up. And then come back to center and reach the arms. Unlock your fingers. Exhale and fold forward. Grab onto the base of your skull and lengthen your spine. Feel those intercostal muscles, the paraspinal muscles, everything lengthening and breathing. Relax your hands. Inhale for a halfway lift, opening up through the body here. Exhale and melt to fold. Step back to a dog pose. Feel extension and length. Root to rise. Breathe. Inhale, come forward to a plank. Drop your shoulders down away from the ears. Feel the index finger mounds root. And then we'll come down to the ground as you're ready. Inhale for a cobra, opening the chest, feeling that extension and length. Exhale, coming down. Elbows draw back, shoulder blades back. Inhale, rise. Exhale, coming back down. One more time. Come up onto all fours and move your pelvis around again. Just wag your tail. And we'll drop our hips all the way over to one side, as far over as they will go, and then all the way over to the other side. And you can always take fists on the ground if hands don't work well for you. Take your left leg straight back behind you, engage. And we'll do some big movements of our legs. So stretching the legs straight behind and then bring the knee up toward the armpit and stretch it on back. Just a few passes of these big wide hip circles and then switch directions. Engage your core, engage your shin on the ground. And then release that knee down back to a child's pose and stretch out and shake your wrists if you need. Come on up, forearms on blocks, hands on ground, fists on ground, however works for your body. We'll take our other leg out behind us. Integrate. Find your breath, press your shin on the ground into the earth. And we'll start with the hip circles, moving the knee out and up toward the armpit and underneath you and back. Feel your core and your leg on the ground stabilize you. And then go the other direction with your leg. All right, and then release and come back to a child's. Curl the toes under and lift to a dog pose. Feel that length in your body. Hopefully your legs and your hips and your back are nice and warmed up now. Walk your feet forward. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, relax down. Push through your feet, rising up. Trace down through the center. Pause here. Discover your breathing. If you lost sight of it, return to your awareness of body and breath. Let your stillness be contemplative. How are you in this moment? And now, lifting the arms up again. Relax, folding down. A halfway lift to extend that spine. When you come back down with your spine, step your left leg back to a lunge. Grounding yourself, feeling your lunge. Let's start to invite awareness of our breath again. As we straighten and bend the front knee, we move slowly with our breathing. Don't worry about where the appropriate place to inhale or exhale is. See if you just pay attention to your breath, you'll probably find your way. All right, ground yourself back, foot comes forward, folding here. Inhale for a halfway lift. And take the other foot back. Coming into a lunge on this side, feel your hips open. All right, start to move with your breathing, take your time. Relish sensation. So notice all the little things. Maybe notice the feet. Maybe notice what your shins feel like, or your hips, or any joint in your body. How is that movement and breath linking up with each other? All right, and then ground and bring your back foot forward. Fold a little deeper. Inhale, rise up. Bring your feet together or apart, your choice, chair pose. As we come into a little bit steadier posture now, see what it feels like to just root down. Maybe your arms come up, maybe they don't. Okay. Choose a pathway that works for your breath and your body. Now we're going to come up onto our toes. A little bit of balance here. Focus your gaze. And then lower your feet back down, your heels back down. Separate your feet if they were together, so your feet are hip width apart. And we're just going to do some gentle pumping of lifting our heels. And you can bring your arms out to the sides for some balance. Recognize that when you pump through your calves, you're doing a lot of good for your cardiovascular system, for your lymphatic system, for your balancing. When you have contact so intimately with your feet, there's a lot of neurological development. This is just such a good thing to do. So simple, not always easy. And then heels back down, this time arms to your heart, hands to your heart for a close-in chair. Drop down. Now pulse a few times here. So you just feel your glutes and your hamstrings turn on. And then we're going to come up onto our right leg, lift to your left knee, hug that right hip in and start to feel the stabilization of that leg. Focus your gaze and keep breathing. Foot back down, your version of a pumping chair. Okay, so your feet can be apart or together, hands at your heart, focus your gaze. We'll pop up onto our left foot, bring the right leg in the air. Lift your heart, soften your gaze, keep that hip hugging firmly in. How's your breath? And then put that foot down onto the ground, standing. This is a subtle little just movement practice. So if you need a little stability, you can always hold the wall. Okay. We'll start with our leg in the air, our right leg is stable. So we're just going to open the knee and then close the knee. So like a little figure eight with your legs. So we're externally rotating and then internally rotating. Now this is movement. Obviously there's a lot of mobility that's happening, but there's also a need for a lot of stability. So keep that right hip stabilized, your core is stabilized as you're moving that hip joint in space. And then swing your leg. Try not to make this about your back going forward and back. Nice and stable through your core as you just swing your leg. Maybe your leg straightens, maybe your knee bends. All right, and then put that foot down. And just enjoy the fact that the burden of your weight bearing can be handled by two legs. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. Standing into our left leg now, we'll lift our right leg up. Try not to lean, into your hip. Hug that hip in strongly. And then a little bit of rotation. We'll rotate externally and then internally. Notice how your core and your standing leg has to do a lot of stabilization. Let your gaze focus on something. How's your breath? This doesn't have to be a big movement. Just find that internal rotation and external rotation. All right, and then swing. Your leg can be straight, your knee can be bent. Stabilizing with your core, that standing leg. And then relax. Give your hips a little shimmy to the side, your back too. And then bounce. So much feedback through our joints, through our spine, our hips, when we do something like this, even all the way down to our shoulders and elbows and hands. All right, and then ground your feet. Close your eyes and see if you can sense the blood and lymph moving through your body, through your lower body in particular. Take a deep breath in, lifting your arms upward to the sky. Exhale, floating forward. A halfway lift, open up through your spine. Exhale and release. Step yourself back to a dog, feeling some length in your body. Breathing deeply. We'll come forward into a plank. Ground yourself through the earth. And we'll lower ourselves all the way down. Take a deep breath. Open through the heart. Exhale, coming back down. Roll to your right side. And we'll do some clamshells and leg lifts here. So coming on to the right. Bend your knees. You can always use a block for your head if you need to. Okay. Bring your hand onto your hip so that you can sense whether or not your body is rocking back and forth. Try to stack your hip right over the other. So left hip over right, left ankle on top of right ankle. And we're going to keep our ankles together and inhale to open up our knee, lifting it to the sky. And then exhale to drop it back down. Maybe this isn't that pattern of breath that you are most excited about. You can always breathe exhaling up and inhaling down if that's preferable to your body. Listen to what your body wants. Notice if you're kind of rolling back, try to prevent yourself from rolling back. Isolating this action into some external rotation. All right, and then just rest for a moment. And we're going to do similar to what we did in the air when we were standing, we'll do this lying down. So we're going to bring our knee down in front of the other knee, or left knee in front of the right knee, tap on the ground, and then tap behind you. And then tap in front of you with your knee, tap with your foot behind you. Now, all the while, you're stabilizing your core, your pelvis, your shoulders, everything's trying to stay as still as possible and just let this movement happen in the leg, in the hip. All right. And then relax that. Bring your legs together one more time. Just soften. We have one more thing to do. Big breath. All right, we're going to keep our right leg bent. Straighten your left leg. Hover it in the air, and we'll just do some leg lifts. And now I know that we're using your hand on your hip to notice if you're rolling back or forward, but see what it might feel like to lift your arm in the air. Can you still stabilize as you lower the leg and lift the leg? Press your other leg, your right leg, into the ground. Engage through your core. So this isn't just about your hip. And do 5 or 6 or however many you like to do. And then we'll relax that and roll onto our back and bring your knees into your chest. And just notice any heat or aliveness in that left hip, becoming conscious of all those smaller muscles. And let's rock a little bit, swaying from side to side. Put your feet onto the ground and knock your knees together and just let your hips rest for a moment. And then we'll move over to the other side. So as you're ready, we'll now lie on our left side. And we'll bring our knees bent, stack everything. This is going to be harder because You think that it's only your top leg doing work, but it's actually both, top and bottom leg. So now our left hip is a little fatigued, so we'll notice that maybe a little bit more on this side. So keeping your ankles together, keeping your hips stacked, you can put one hand over on top of your hip so you can feel that stacking. We'll begin to open and close. And just try to pay attention. How does this feel compared to the other side? This is part of that self-study, is noticing patterns in our body. Are you weaker or stronger on one side? Do you tend to have dominance in your body? Are you a little bit more aware of one side of your body than the other? Pay attention to these subtle little differences, or maybe not so subtle little differences between your two sides. How's your breath? Press that leg into the ground as much as the leg is lifting in the air. All right, as you know, I never count, I just feel. So maybe you're a counter and you like things to be very even. So if that's the case, please do the same number on this side as you did on the other. And then rest for a moment. And then we'll go into that knee and foot tapping. So we're going to lift our leg up and we're going to drop our knee down to touch the ground, and then our foot behind to tap the ground. Now see what you can do to stabilize through your core and through your torso here. So we're not just rolling forward and back. We're trying to minimize the roll. It's really the movement of the hip joint that we're looking at here. Notice if this side feels similar to what the other side felt, or does it feel different? Do you have any snaps, cracks, pops, clicks? All right. And then we'll rest here. Just find your body lining up, shoulder over shoulder, wrist over wrist, or hip over hip. And then we'll straighten the top leg. The bottom leg is still bent. And we're going to, oops, my furniture's in the way. We're going to do some leg lifting here. And remember that block is under your head, or a blanket, something is under your head to support you. And we'll just lift straight up and straight down. Now, when you do this, try not to roll forward or back. We're staying in that neutral plane. The core is engaged. We're not just relying on those outer hip muscles. Gluteus medius, gluteus minimus, and TFL are doing a lot of this work. So let's see if we can just allow some ease. All right, and then when you're ready, we'll come lie on our back. Bring your knees into your chest and rock a little bit left to right. Just notice maybe some heat in your hips, maybe some awareness. All right. We'll kind of seek symmetry now after doing a lot of that asymmetry. Ground through the four corners of your feet. And we're going to lift the pelvis up to a bridge. And first, before we move here, let's just find a full bridge. So ground through your feet, take the opportunity to climb onto the tops of your shoulders and open your ribs and chest. Spread your collarbones. Lift your heart toward your chin. Back of the head grounds, feet ground, arms ground. Notice if there's symmetry in your body here. If you feel like your ribs are asymmetrical or your hips are asymmetrical, just pay attention. And then relax and bring your hips back down. Windshield wiper, your knees left and right. Maybe when you're ready now, this is, a little bit different of a bridge kind of movement. We're going to stay grounded in your feet to begin. Lift your hips up. And then we're going to open our knees, but try to go to a place where you're still having a little bit of contact with your big toe mound
and your inner heel on the ground. So we're not rolling onto the outer of the feet entirely, but we're lessening the pressure on the inner feet. And then back to neutral, and then come down. And we'll do a few passes of this and a little bit more movement, not so much holding. Inhale up with your pelvis. Exhale, open your knees. Inhale back to center. Exhale, come down. So that's your movement. Let's do it 3 more times. Inhale up. Exhale, knees come wide. Inhale back to center. Exhale, lower your pelvis down. Notice the grounding of your feet. Pay attention to symmetry or asymmetry. Hips up. Exhale, open. Inhale, knees back to neutral. Exhale, back down. Okay, let's do one more. Inhale up. Exhale, open. Inhale, back to neutral. Exhale, and come down. Windshield wiper your knees. Turn your head in opposition of your knees. All right. Pause for a moment. And then roll to your side and let's lift to a dog pose. Feeling that extension and openness in your body, feel the back body, maybe pedaling your feet, maybe swaying your hips, kind of getting some loosening after that strong work in your hips. And then walk your feet forward, come to Uttanasana. A halfway lift, open up. Exhale, coming back down. Push through your feet, rising. Exhale, coming back to neutral. Okay, standing on your right foot. We're going to open up into a tree pose now. As we come into this posture, see what it feels like. Maybe your foot wants to come high, maybe your foot wants to come low, anywhere, but don't put your heel at your knee, anywhere but there. Okay. All right, open up. Let that knee, your left knee, draw back behind you as you keep your torso facing forward. Find your breath. Inhale, rise up with your arms. Focus your gaze. Notice your standing leg. Hug the hip in. Ground yourself. Our knee is not locked out. Our neck is not locked out. Our eyes are not locked out. Our breath is not locked out. Okay, and then relax and bring that foot down onto the ground. And again, just enjoy the fact that you have these beautiful supportive legs underneath you, that we don't have to weight bear into one leg all day long. We can share the weight. We don't have to be a leaner, where we just kind of sink into one leg, habituated in that response. See if you can notice and use both your legs to support you. A big breath. And we'll find our way to the pose on the second side. Remember, anywhere but the heel at your knee. Okay. Hug your hip in, lift your chest, feel your foot on the ground, ground yourself, and then focus on opening up that knee, drawing the knee back behind you. And ribs, everything's facing forward. Hips and ribs are facing forward. Reach the arms up and soften your gaze. Finding your breath. And then when you're ready, we'll lower that foot down onto the ground. And again, feeling that grounded weight through your feet. Unlock your knees. And let's open your legs wide, turn your toes out and come to a deep squat. Feeling your breath, maybe rocking a little bit into one leg and then the other. How's your weight bearing as you gently move a little weight into one side versus the other? Is there anything that's resistant to that? Do you have preference? Notice the differences between your left and right. And then we'll inhale and come back up. Okay. Keeping your feet turned out like this, reaching the arms up. Exhale, coming down to a goddess pose. We'll move a couple times and then hold. Inhale, reaching. Exhale, dropping. Keeping the chest upright. One more time. Now we're going to come down and we're going to do a little variation in here. So first, just find your goddess. And remember, anywhere along the path is fine. You don't have to be as deep as you feel like you can go. Open up your knees. Bear weight into four corners. Lift your heart. And then lift your heels. Just see what it feels like to open the knees, to come off your heels, weight into the toes, heart lifted, reach the arms upward. Keep opening your knees up. All right, and then straighten your legs, heels down onto the ground. Turn your right foot out. Take a deep breath in, and we'll come into Virabhadrasana, Warrior Two. Now we've done so much work with the hips already, so just notice what's here. Breathing deeply, ground through your back foot. See if you can open up that front knee, track the knee in line with the middle toes. And then we'll come right down into a Parsvakonasana and open up the side of your body. This back hip, draw the femur bone back in the joint, ground through the foot. If we push that pelvic side of our pelvis forward, it's a lot of strain in the SI joint in the back and the hip joint in the front. So draw the femur bone back. All right, come back up. And we'll turn our feet the other way. These same two poses on this side. Start in a Virabhadrasana, Warrior Two. Drop the shoulders. Gaze out over your fingers. Root your feet down. Track your knees. So use those muscles we've been turning on. Open up your knee. Drag back from your outer knee to your outer hip. Spread your toes. Try to find that alignment of your knee landing in the middle of your toes. And then when you're ready, lean your elbow down onto your leg, Parsvakonasana. If you haven't yet already, notice what this back hip is doing. Draw the femur bone back. Even if it makes you feel like you stick your butt out a little bit, see if you can free that hip joint and ground into your foot. With that freedom, try to open up the front knee without losing the softness you just gained in that hip, in the left hip, or right hip, sorry. Open up the left knee. Right thigh bone back. All right, come back up. Turn your feet forward and let's rest here. Hands down onto the ground, wide-legged stance. Open up your hamstrings. Relax your head. You can do any variation of Prasrita that you like. All right, turn back to the front of your mat. Take a dog pose, but turn your toes in. Pigeon toe yourself strongly. A big breath. All right. Put your feet back to neutral. Last of the planks. Push the ground away. And we'll find the ground. And just one pose of symmetry. We'll lift the legs. You can always lift the upper body too, or you can keep the head on your hands. See if you can lift your legs in symmetry and hug your sacrum strongly. And then exhale and release. Pick up your feet and windshield wiper. Nice and steady. Nice and slow. Moving with your breath. All right, now bring your toe, stay here, but put your feet together for a moment. The knees are hip width apart. And then we're gonna let our feet fall out to the sides. Just let gravity take hold, a little bit of internal rotation in the femur bones. Find your breath. All right, and then put your feet down and just woggle your hips left and right. Just, rock them. Come on up and come back to a child's pose. Any distance with your knees, any position of your pelvis, just let your body be in its most restful place. Breathe down your sacrum, compress through your hips in a gentle, easy way. All right, we're gonna roll to our back. Okay. Take your feet just a little bit, so feet are on the ground, knees are bent. Take your feet a little bit wider than your hip width. Okay. And then drop your right knee toward your left foot. Just see how that feels. We'll just stay a moment and then pick it back up and drop your left knee toward your right foot. Just enjoy a little bit of that internal rotation. Okay, now we're going to come into a twist into this pose. So we'll drop, and you might need to adjust your feet a little closer, see how you feel. We're going to drop our right knee toward our left foot and pick up our left foot and put it on the outside of the right knee. Now, you might need a block to wedge underneath your right knee or underneath your left knee somewhere. Just kind of find what works in case the going down to the ground is not available. You don't want to tweak your back. Just opening up into some internal rotation in the femur bone to stretch what we just did a lot of strengthening of. You can even reach your right arm over your head. Big breath here. And then come back to neutral. Pause for a moment, pick up your hips and shake them. And then put your hips back down. Drop your left knee toward your right foot. Pick up your right foot, put it on the outside of your left knee so you deepen that twist. And of course, wedge a block if you want underneath your knee, your left knee, or maybe even underneath the outer right leg. Whatever support you need. You don't want to have this feeling badly in your back. Okay, so support if your back starts to feel vulnerable, wedge a block underneath you to lessen the pose. How's your breath? Maybe you want to stretch that left arm over your head. And then we'll come back up. Lift your hips, give them a good shake again. Free up your pelvis. And then we'll lower down. And if you have a wall to put your foot on, we'll do a reverse pigeon pose with no hands. But if you don't have a wall, you can do it the traditional way with grabbing on behind your thigh. But if you have a wall to put your left foot on, put your left foot on a wall, right foot on your left knee. And then with your right hand and left hand, press your right foot and your right knee away a little bit. A little bit of pushing away. Drop your sit bones. Notice your pelvis. See if you can feel a sense of balance through the two halves of your pelvis. How's your breath? All right, and then release that. And we'll go to the second side. So, inch closer to the wall, further from the wall, depending on, what the flexibility is happening in your pelvis. First, just get settled into the reverse pigeon vibes. Sit bones wide, a balance across your pelvis. And because your hands are free, because you're using the wall, unless you're choosing to do the traditional version, which is great too, we can use our hands to press a little bit. So press into that left knee. Try not to torque your pelvis when you do this. So stabilize your pelvis and let your left knee open. Passively. This is all passive. All right, relax your hands. Rest in the pose for another breath. And then we'll bring our knees into our chest and rock. If there's anything else your body needs before Shavasana, maybe a happy baby, maybe a little bridge with a block under your pelvis, whatever, if you need to do something, make sure whatever you're doing to release is a symmetrical pose where the legs are doing the same thing. And then prepare for Shavasana in any way you need. So if you need to have a nourishment for your pelvis, that's great. I'm putting a block under my pelvis for a moment, couple of breaths. Maybe that feels good to you. Maybe something else feels good to you. And then when you're ready for Shavasana, I recommend some support underneath your knees today, even if you don't normally, so that your hips can really rest. We do, obviously a lot of work with the hips today. So having some ease in the hip joints by bending the knees slightly with a bolster or blankets underneath can feel nice. Okay, so melt your body and just pay attention to your hip joints first. Like notice the aliveness. Maybe there's some fatigue. Maybe you've discovered a discrepancy between the left and right sides, and see if you can let Shavasana be the great equalizer. Relax the back of your head into the ground. Relax your shoulders and your arms. And bring yourself fully into your breath. And when you're ready, begin to have some subtle movements in your fingers and your toes or your wrists or your ankles. Maybe rock your legs a little bit left and right, just a nice rocking of your femur bones. And then stretch your arms overhead and find a big reach in your body. And then draw your knees in and roll over to your side. Pause on your side for a moment. Just let your body absorb your practice. And then gently push yourself upright, coming to a comfortable seat. Close your eyes. Stay inward for a moment. Bring your hands together at your heart. Find your breath. Let's offer our practice, our concentration, our energy. Let's offer it outward to another. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.